Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We are continuing our reading on the Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And today we'll start with chapter 10. So here we go. I meet my master, Sri Yukteswar. Faith in God can produce any miracle except one, passing an examination without study. Distastefully, I closed the inspirational book I had picked up in an idle moment. The writer's exception shows his complete lack of faith, I thought. Poor chap. He has great respect for the midnight oil. My promise to father had been that I would complete my high school studies. I cannot pretend to diligence. The passing months found me less frequently in the classroom than in secluded spots along the Calcutta bathing ghats. The adjoining crematory grounds, especially gruesome at night, are considered highly attractive by the yogi. He who would find the deathless essence must not be dismayed by a few unadorned skulls. Human inadequacy becomes clear in the gloomy abode of miscellaneous bones. My midnight vigils were thus of a different nature from the scholars. The week of final examinations at the Hindu high school was fast approaching. This derogatory period, like the sepulchral haunts, inspires a well-known terror. My mind was nevertheless at peace. Braving the ghouls, I was exhuming a knowledge not found in lecture halls. But I lacked the art of Swami Pranabananda, who easily appeared into places at one time. My reasoning, though to many, alas, it seems illogic, was that the Lord would notice my dilemma and would extricate me from it. The devotee's irrationality springs from 1,000 inexplicable demonstrations of God's instancy in trouble. Hello, Mukunda. I catch hardly a glimpse of you these days. A classmate accosted me one afternoon on Garpar Road. Hello, Nantu. My invisibility at school seems to have placed me there in a decidedly awkward position. I unburdened myself under his friendly gaze. Nantu, who was a brilliant student, laughed heartily. My predicament was not without a comic aspect. Excuse me. You are utterly unprepared for the finals, he said. I suppose it is up to me to help you. The simple words conveyed divine promise to my ears. With alacrity, I visited my friend's home. He kindly outlined the solutions to various problems he considered likely to be set by the instructors. These questions are the bait that will catch many trusting boys in the examination trap. Remember my answers, and you will escape without injury. The night was far gone when I departed. Bursting with an unseasoned erudition, I devoutly prayed it would remain for the next few critical days. Nantu had coached me in my various subjects, but under press of time had forgotten my course in Sanskrit. Fervently, I reminded God of the oversight. I set out on a walk the next morning, assimilating my new knowledge to the rhythm of swinging footsteps. As I took a shortcut through the weeds of a corner lot, my eye fell on a few loose printed sheets. A triumphant pounce. In my hand were Sanskrit verses. I sought out a pundit for aid in my stumbling interpretation. His rich voice filled the air with the edgeless, honeyed beauty of the ancient tongue. Here's a footnote on Sanskrit. Sanskrita, polished, complete. Sanskrit is the elder sister of all Indo-European tongues. Its alphabetical script is called Devanagari, literally divine abode. Who knows my grammar knows God. Panini, great philologist of ancient India, paid that tribute to the mathematical and psychological perfection of Sanskrit. He who would track language to its lair must indeed end as omniscient. These exceptional stanzas cannot possibly of aid in your Sanskrit test, the scholar dismissed them skeptically, but familiarity with that particular poem enabled me on the following day to pass the Sanskrit examination. Through the discerning help Nantu had given, I also attained the minimum grade for success in all my other subjects. Father was pleased that I had kept my word and concluded my secondary school course. My gratitude sped to the Lord, whose sole guidance I perceived in my visit to Nantu's home and in my walk by the unhabitual route of the debris-filled lot. Playfully, he had given a dual expression to his timely design for my rescue. I came across a discarded book whose author had denied God's precedence in the examination halls. I could not restrain a chuckle at my own silent comment. It would only add to this fellow's confusion if I were to tell him that divine meditation among the cadavers is a shortcut to a high school diploma. In my new dignity, I was now openly planning to leave home. Together with a young friend, Jitendra Mazumdar, here's a footnote down here, he was not Jatinda Jotin Ghosh, who will be remembered for his timely aversion to tigers. I decided to join the Benares Hermitage, Sri Bharat Dharma, Mahamandal, and receive its spiritual discipline. And here's a footnote about that. Since India gained her independence, the original Indian spellings have been restored to many words that have become anglicized during British rule. The Benares is now more commonly spelled Varanasi, or is referred to by its more ancient name, Kashi. A desolation fell over me one day at the thought of separation from my family. Since mother's death, my affection had grown especially tender for my two younger brothers, Sananda and Bishnu, and for Tamu, my youngest sister. I rushed to my retreat, the little attic that had witnessed so many scenes in my turbulent Sahanda, which means path or preliminary road to God. After a 2-hour flood of tears, I felt singularly transformed, as by some alchemical cleanser. All attachments disappeared. My resolution to seek God as the friend of friends became adamantine. Here's a little footnote about that. Hindu scriptures teach that family attachment is delusive if it prevents the devotee from seeking the giver of all boons, including the one of loving relatives, not to mention life itself. Jesus similarly taught, he that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Matthew 10:37. I make one last plea. Father was distressed as I stood before him for his blessing. Do not forsake me and your grieving brothers and sisters. Revered Father, how can I tell my love for you? But even greater is my love for the Heavenly Father, who has given me the gift of a perfect Father on earth. Let me go, that I may someday return with a more divine understanding. With reluctant parental consent, I set out to join Jitendra, already in Benares at the Hermitage. On my arrival, the young head Swami, Dayananda, greeted me cordially. Tall and thin, of thoughtful mien, he impressed me favorably. His fair face had a Buddha-like composure. I was pleased that my new home possessed an attic where I managed to spend the dawn and morning hours. The ashram members, knowing little of meditation practices, thought I should employ my whole time in organizational duties. They gave me praise for my afternoon work in their office. Don't try to catch God so soon, this ridicule from a fellow resident accompanied one of my early departures toward the attic. I went to Dinayanda, busy in his small sanctum overlooking the Ganges. Swamgiri. Here's a footnote about that. Ji is a customary respectful suffix, particularly used in direct address. Thus, Swamiji, Guruji, Sri Yukteswarji. Swamiji. Swamiji, I don't understand what is required of me here. I am seeking direct perception of God. Without him, I cannot be satisfied with affiliation or creed or performance of good works. The orange-robed ecclesiastic gave me an affectionate pat, staging a mock rebuke. He admonished a few nearby disciples. Don't bother, Mukunda. He will learn our ways. I politely concealed my doubt. The students left the room, not noticeably bent with their chastisement. Dayananda had further words for me. Mukunda, I see your father is regularly sending you money. Please return it to him. You require none here. A second injunction for your discipline concerns food. Even when you feel hunger, do not mention it. Further, whether famishment gleamed in my eye, I knew not that I was hungry. I knew only too well the invariable hour for the first hermitage meal was 12 noon. I had been accustomed in my own home to a large breakfast at 9 o'clock. The 3-hour gap became daily more interminable. Gone were the Calcutta years when I could rebuke the cook for a 10-minute delay. Now I tried to control my appetite. I completed a 24-hour fast. With double zest, I awaited the following midday. Dayanandaji's train is late. We're not going to eat until he arrives. Jitendra brought me this devastating news. As a gesture of welcome to the Swami, who had been absent for 2 weeks, many delicacies were in readiness. An appetizing aroma filled the air, nothing else offering. What could be swallowed except my pride in yesterday's feast? Lord, hasten the train. Heavenly provider, I thought, could hardly have been included in an interdiction with which Dayananda had silenced me. Divine attention was everywhere, however. The plodding clock covered the hours. The darkness was ascending. Oh, darkness was descending as our leader entered the door. My greeting was one of sheer joy. Dayanandaji will bathe and meditate. Gosh, before we can serve food, Jitendras approached me again as a bird of ill omen. I was in near collapse. My young stomach, new to deprivation, protested with gnawing vigor. Pictures I had seen of family victims passed wraith-like before me. The next Benares death from starvation is due at once in this hermitage, I thought. Impending doom was averted at 9 o'clock. Ambrosio's summons in memory that evening meal is vivid as one of life's perfect hours. Intense absorption had not prevented me from observing that Dayananda ate absent-mindedly. He was apparently above my gross pleasures. Swamiji, weren't you hungry? Happily surfeited. I was alone with the leader in his study. Oh, yes, he said. I spent the last 4 days without food or drink. I never eat on trains filled with the heterogeneous vibrations of worldly people. Strictly, I observe the shastric rules for monks of my particular order. And here is a footnote about that pertaining to the Shastras, literally sacred books, comprising 4 classes of scripture, the Shruti, Smriti, Purana, and Tantra. These comprehensive treatises cover every aspect of religious and social life, and the fields of law, medicine, architecture, art, etc. The Shrutis were the directly heard or revealed scripture, the Vedas. The Smritis, or remembered lore, were finally written down on a remote past as the world's longest epic poems. The Mahabharata and the Ramayana. Puranas, 18 in number, are literally ancient allegories. Tantras literally means rites or rituals. These treatises convey profound truth under a veil of detailed symbolism. Okay, where am I? Okay, here we are. Certain problems of our organization work lie on my mind. Tonight at home, I neglected my dinner. What's the hurry? Tomorrow, I'll make it a point to have a proper meal. He laughed merrily. Shame spread within me like a suffocation, but the past day of my torture was not easily forgotten. I ventured a further remark. Swamiji, I am puzzled about following your instruction. Suppose I never ask for food and nobody gives me any. I should starve to death. Die then. The alarming counsel split the air. Die if you must, Mukunda. Never believe that you live by the power of food and not by the power of God. He who has created every form of nourishment, he who has bestowed appetite, will inevitably see that his devotee is maintained. Do you not imagine that rice sustains you, nor that money or men support you? Oh, do not imagine that rice sustains you, nor that money or men support you. Could they aid if the Lord withdraws your life breath? They are his instruments merely. It is by any skill, is it by any skill of yours that food digests in your stomach? Use the sword of your discrimination, Mukunda. Cut through the chains of agency and perceive the single cause. I found his incisive words entering some deep moral. Gone was an age-old delusion by which bodily imperatives outwit the soul. Then and there I tasted the spirit's all-sufficiency. In how many strange cities in my later life of ceaseless travel did occasion arise to prove the serviceability of this lesson in Benares Hermitage? The sole treasure which had accompanied me from Calcutta was the sadhu's silver amulet bequeathed to me by mother. Guarding it for years, I now had it carefully hidden in my ashram room. To renew my joy in the talismanic testimony, one morning I opened the locked box. The sealed covering untouched. Lo, the amulet was gone. Mournfully, I tore open the envelope and made unmistakably sure it had vanished in accordance with the sadhu's prediction into the ether once he had summoned it. My relationship with Dayananda's followers grew steadily worse. The household was alienated, hurt by my determined aloofness, my strict adherence to meditation on the very ideal for which I had left home, and all worldly ambitions called forth shallow criticism from all sides. Torn by spiritual anguish, I entered the attic one dawn, resolved to pray until an answer was vouchsafed. Merciful Mother of the universe, teach me thyself through visions and through a guru sent by thee. The passing hours found my sobbing pleas without response. Suddenly, I felt lifted as though bodily to a sphere uncircumscribed. The Master cometh today, a divine womanly voice came from everywhere and nowhere. The supernal experience was shattered by a shout from a definite locale. A young priest nicknamed Habu was calling me from the downstairs kitchen. Mukunda, enough of meditation. You are needed for an errand. Another day, I might have replied impatiently. Now I wiped my tear-swollen face and meekly obeyed the summons. Together, Habu and I set out for a distant marketplace in the Bengali section of Benares. The ungentle Indian sun was not yet at zenith as we made our purchases in the bazaars. We pushed our way through the colorful medley of housewives, guides, priests, simply clad widows, dignified Brahmins, and ubiquitous holy bulls. As Habu and I moved on, I turned my head to survey a narrow, inconspicuous lane. A Christian-like man in the orchard robes of a Swami stood motionless at the end of the lane. Instantly and anciently familiar he seemed. For a trice, my gaze fed hungrily. Then doubt assailed me. You are confusing this wandering monk with someone known to you, I thought. Dreamer, walk on. After 10 minutes, I felt heavy numbness in my feet. As though turned to stone, they were unable to carry me farther. Laboriously, I turned around. My feet regained normality. I faced the opposite direction. Again, the curious weight oppressed me. The saint is magnetically drawing me to him. With his thought, I heaped my parcels into the arms of Habu. He had been observing my erratic footwork with amazement and now burst into laughter. What ails you? Are you crazy? My tumultuous emotion prevented any retort. I sped silently away. Retracing my steps as though wing-shot, I reached the narrow lane. My quick glance revealed the quiet figure steadily gazing in my direction. A few eager steps, and I was at his feet. Guru Veda, the divine face, was the one I had seen in 1,000 visions. These halcyon eyes in a leonine head with pointed beard and flowing locks had oft peered through the gloom of my nocturnal reveries, holding a promise I had not fully understood. "Oh, my own, you have come to me." My guru uttered the words again and again in Bengali, his voice tremulous with joy. "How many years have I waited for you?" We entered a oneness of silence. Eloquence flowed. Words seemed the rankest superfluities. Eloquence flowed in soundless chant from the heart of master to disciple. With an antenna of irrefragable insight, I sensed that my guru knew God and would lead me to him. The obscuration of this life disappeared in a fragile dawn of prenatal memories. Dramatic time, past, present, and future are its cycling scenes. This was not the first son to find me at these holy feet. My hand in his, my guru led me to his temporary residence in the Rana Mahal section of the city. His athletic figure moved with firm tread. His athletic figure moved with firm tread. Tall, erect, about 55 at this time, he was active and vigorous as a young man. His dark eyes were large, beautiful with plumbness wisdom. Slightly curly hair softened a face of striking power. Strength mingled subtly with gentleness. As we made our way to the stone balcony of a house overlooking the Ganges, he said affectionately, "I shall give you my hermitages and all I possess. Sir, I come for wisdom and God realization. Those are your treasure troves I'm after." The swift Indian twilight had dropped its half curtain before my master spoke again. His eyes held unfathomable tenderness. "I give you my unconditional love." Precious words! A quarter century elapsed before I had another auricular proof of his love. His lips were strange to ardor. Silence suited his oceanic heart. "Will you give me the same unconditional love?" He gazed at me with childlike trust. "I will love you eternally, Guru Deva." Ordinary love is selfish, darkly rooted in desires and satisfactions. Divine love is without condition, without boundary, without change. The flux of the human heart is gone forever at the transfixing touch of pure love. He added humbly, "If ever you find me falling from a state of God realization, please promise to put my head on your lap and help to bring me back to the cosmic beloved we both worship." He rose then in the gathering darkness and guided me to an inner room. As we ate mangoes and almond sweetmeats, he unobtrusively wove into his conversation an intimate knowledge of my nature. I was awestruck at the grandeur of his wisdom, exquisitely blended with an innate humility. "Do not grieve for your amulet. It has served its purpose. Like a divine mirror, my guru apparently had caught a reflection of my whole life. The living reality of your presence, Master, is joy beyond any symbol. It is time for a change, inasmuch as you are unhappily suited in the hermitage. I had made no references in my life to my life. They now seem superfluous. By his natural and unempathic manner, I understood that he wished no astonished ejaculations at his clairvoyance. You should go back to Calcutta. Why exclude relatives from your love of humanity? His suggestion dismayed me. My family was predicting my return, though I had been unresponsive to many pleas by letter. "Let the young bird fly in the metaphysical skies," Ananta had remarked. "His wings will tire in the heavy atmosphere. We shall yet see him swoop up toward home, fold his pinions, and humbly rest in our family nest." This discouraging simile fresh in my mind. I was determined to do no swooping in the direction of Calcutta. "Sir, I am not returning home, but I will follow you anywhere. Please give me your address and your name." "Swami Sri Yukteswar Giri. My chief hermitage is in Sirampore on Regat Lane. I'm visiting my mother here for only a few days." I wondered at God's intricate play with his devotees. Sirampore is but 12 miles from Calcutta. Yet in those regions, I had never caught a glimpse of my guru. We had to travel for our meeting to the ancient city of Kashi, Banaras, hallowed by memories of Lahiri Mahasaya. Here too, the feet of Buddha Shankaracharya and many other yogi Christs had blessed the soil. Here's a long footnote about that Buddha, or about that Shakaranacharya. Shakaranacharya, Shankara, India's greatest philosopher, was a disciple of Govinda Jati and of the latter guru, Gaudapada. Shankara wrote a famous commentary on a treatise, Mandukya Karika, by Gaudapada, with unanswerable logic and in a style of charm and grace. Shankara interpreted Vedanta philosophy in a strictly Advaita, non-dual, monistic spirit. The great monist also composed poems of devotional love. His prayer to the Divine Mother for forgiveness of sins bears the refrain, "Though bad sons are many, never has there been a bad mother." Sunandana, a disciple of Shankara's, wrote a commentary on the Brahma Sutras, Vedanta philosophy. The manuscript was lost by fire, but Shankara, who had once glanced through it, repeated it word for word to his disciple. The text, known as Panchapadika, is studied by scholars to this day. The Chila Sanandana received a new name after a beautiful incident. Sealed one day on a riverbank, he heard I'm sorry for all these Indian words. Wow, I'm butchering them all. So sorry. He heard Chakara calling him from the opposite shore. Sanandana entered the water forthwith. His faith and his feet were simultaneously supported when Shankara materialized in the swirling river a series of lotus flowers. The disciple was therefore known as Padmapada, lotus foot. In the Pachapadika, Padmapada offers many loving tributes to his guru. Shankara himself wrote the following beautiful lines. No known comparison exists in the three words for a true guru. If the philosopher's stone be assumed as truly such, it can only turn iron into gold, not into another philosopher's stone. The venerated teacher, on the other hand, creates equality with himself in the disciple who takes refuge at his feet. The guru is therefore peerless, nay, transcendental. Century of verses. 1. Lord Shankara was a rare combination of saint, scholar, and man of action. Though he lived only 32 years, many of them were spent in arduous travel to every part of India, spreading his Advaita doctrine. Millions gathered eagerly to hear the solacing flow of wisdom from the lips of the barefooted young monk. Shankara's reforming zeal included the reorganization of the ancient monastic Swami order, see page 248, note 249. He also founded maths, monastic educational centers in 4 localities, Sringeri in the south, Puri in the east, Dwarka in the west, and Barinath in the Himalayan north. The 4 maths of the great monists, liberally endowed by princes and common people, gave free instruction in Sanskrit grammar, logic, and Vedanta philosophy. Shankara's object in locating his maths in the 4 corners of India was the promotion of religious and national unity. Oh, here's a continuation. Throughout the vast land. Now, as in the past, the pious Hindu finds free room and board at chotris and satrams, resting places along the hermitage or pilgrimage roads maintained by public benefactors. And here's a picture of Sri Yukteswar. That's Yogananda's teacher. And he was born 1855 and died 1936. The Jinanvatar, incarnation of wisdom, disciple of Lahiri Mahasaya, guru of Sri Yogananda, Param Guru of all SRF, YSS Kriya Yogis. Interesting, eh? You will come to me in 4 weeks. For the first time, Sri Yukteswar's voice was stern. Now that I have told you of my eternal affection and have shown my happiness at finding you, you feel free to disregard my request. The next time we meet, you shall have to awaken my interest. I won't easily accept you as a disciple. There must be complete surrender by obedience to my strict training. I remain obstinately silent. My guru quickly penetrated my difficulty. Do you think your relatives will laugh at you? I will not return. You will return in 30 days. Never. The controversial tension unrelieved, I bowed reverently at his feet and departed. Walking in the midnight darkness toward the hermitage, I wondered why the miraculous meeting had ended on an inharmonious note. The dual scales of Maya, that balance every joy with grief. My young heart was not yet malleable to the transforming fingers of my guru. The next morning, I noticed increased hostility at the attitude of the hermitage members. They spiked my days with invariable rudeness. 3 weeks passed. Dayananda then left the ashram to attend a conference in Bombay. Pandemonium broke over my hapless head. Mukunda is a parasite, accepting hermitage hospitality without making proper return. Overhearing his remark, I regretted for the first time that I had obeyed the request to send back my money to father. With a heavy heart, I sought out my soul friend, Jitendra. I am leaving. Please convey my respectful regrets to Dayanandaji when he returns. I will leave also. My attempts to meditate here meet with no more favor than your own. Jitendra spoke with determination. I have met a Christ-like saint. Let us visit him in Serampore. And so the bird prepared to swoop perilously close to Calcutta. End of chapter 10. Chapter